Good morning. I'm Allie Brown. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm here with Dafina Smith, and you're in Westport today.
I'm in Westport, Connecticut. Lovely, sunny, summery day.
How has the adjustment been?
I love it. I am blown away at how much I'm riding my bike. I'm getting lobster rolls. I'm looking at the sailboats on the Sound. I mean, it's surprising.
From New England,
kicking and screaming. I was like, I'm still in my heart imagining like a penthouse in New York City, but I love it. I mean, I cannot complain.
And you're not alone. A lot of people are moving out.
No, it is. It's crazy. We're getting We had Brad Pitt, Leo DiCaprio, and Bradley Cooper were spotted at this like bar that everybody goes to in town, and it has activated all of the housewives of Connecticut.
I know when I grew up near there in Westport, used to be the cool place that you go like out to dinner or out to bars. And so I just think it's a fantastic place to be. So welcome to We Lead Live. I am hosting this. This is season 2. And what we're doing is we're bringing in some amazing 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs to really talk about this year for them and what they have done during the transition. I promise we're not going to use the word pivot. I promise we're not going to say in these uncertain times, turbulent may come up. That's a good one.
There has been some turbulence, definitely.
Yeah. And especially in different industries. And Dafina is someone I wanted to bring in. And by the way, if you want to hear her full story, you were a guest on my podcast in June. It was June. And it's an amazing interview. And we went really deep on that one. But today we're going to really talk about the business strategies and the resilience required that, especially in your industry, which I'm going to just let you tell us a bit about first, if you can give us a snapshot of your current business.
Okay, so I'm the founder and CEO of Covet & Main, and at Covet & Main, we empower and the world's leading salons and stylists that are freelance as well, with this transformative power of hair extensions. And we focus only on one thing. We're obsessed with them, and it's hand-tied hair extensions. They really just allow women to do an enhancement or an extend their hair without compromising, without using glues and tapes, and really allowing them to not have to choose between healthy hair and the hair that they feel entitled to, as I would say. We're not always born with what we imagine, myself included.
And in an industry of there's a lot of choices. You guys are one of the higher end, if not the highest end brands.
We aim to be, as I said, the Chanel of hair extensions. We really work in a different model in which we really align with those artists who are top of the game, extension only. Like they don't dip into men's cuts and kids cut. They're really just committed to the power of extensions and that transformational role. And they're really specialists and very certified, very well trained. I feel like they have like master's degrees of the beauty world.
Yeah. So tell, if you could share your story, how you ended up, founding this business, because your background's just fascinating. Davina's one of those people you'll be talking to about. She's like, yeah, when I was working with blah, blah, blah. You're like, wait, what? Yeah. Who are these people from your past kind of hip hop circle life?
Yeah. So I started I graduated from Georgetown, ran off to New York City in the buying program at Bloomingdale's, and I kind of got thrown into, at the time it was what do we call it now? The aughts, 2000s?
I think so.
The aughts, yeah.
It's awkward, but it's true.
Yeah. And it was like peak, it was puffy, and there was Diesel and G, the rise of like premium denim, and then all the hip hop brands that were founder brands, and that they would do a clothing line as well. So I started in that. It was amazing. It was a lot of work. It was like we were like accountants and shoppers together, and from there, a lot of my friends were at the time in New York City, were in different forms of fashion and entertainment. Kind of found my way into real estate, where I got to work with like Broadway producers. I did some deals with John Mayer when he was like just fresh on the scene. And then that kind of took me to LA. I worked for Outkast, and this is when they were like Hey Ya and their big
that was the album of that year.
Great album. It was a great time, and they were working on a lot of television and film projects, which I got to help work and learn that process of television and film development, as well as plan some amazing parties, like amazing Grammy parties. And from there, just from kind of working with the outcast orbit, I love real estate. It's just something for me. It's a people thing. So I knew all the assistants. I feel like I had like the best Rolodex in LA at the time. So I knew like Beyonce's assistant, Jay-Z's assistant, Nick Cannon's assistant. And when I went into real estate, that's who I called. Because if you know LA, the gatekeepers, like the assistants really have a lot of power, because like Beyonce is not calling you to schedule her showings, it's her assistant. And so I was at Sotheby's on Sunset Strip and got to do just some really cool deals with celebrities, but I feel like I also helped my friends buy their first home. There was a lot of, I feel like I helped create a lot of wealth at the time. And then the recession came, and it also coincided with I was interested in my family's business. I had an understanding of the fashion industry, and I understood, how much celebrities were spending on beauty and extensions and people were more aware of that. So I started with a direct-to-consumer website that sold extensions, and I started that in 2007. And
could you, I'm going to jump in. Can you make the connection with your family's business too? Because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So, my parents, in Minneapolis, the store is still there. It's been there for going on 30 years. My stepfather was an engineer, and he had 4 daughters. He was raising 4 daughters. We were crazy. We were always changing our hair. We were always at the salon. We were just like very vain. We were very, and when he got laid off from AT&T as an engineer, he took his money and started the store. And
what's it called?
It's called Sonny's Hair and Wigs, and it's on the corner of Lake and Lyndale in Minneapolis. It's been there. There's one in Arizona. And that's how I really kind of tiptoed into the beauty industry again. I knew fashion, and I knew kind of like rolling forecast, and I knew how supply chain and you
learned all that from your family and being around the store.
I didn't. My family, I think, was just kind of, they were just doing it very mom and pop.
Okay.
And I would
what a dream though, to be like a teenager and your parents open a beauty shop. I mean, was it funny to go hang out?
I have a younger sister who's like literally changes her hair every 36 hours. Like, she's obsessed with her. And one time at the store, a customer came up to my dad and was like, there's somebody in the back stealing hair from you. And he was like, oh, that's just my daughter. Like, that was like, constantly her just like changing up her look. But it was interesting. It was like out of a sitcom growing up. We always had a very lively crew of people around us, from just everyone knew us from being behind the counter in Minneapolis.
So you just got the basics information and figured out how to do this? Can you connect a few more dots of this story?
So, okay, I would say, I think at Bloomingdale's, what I saw was it was pageantry, it was artistry. I mean, they really, especially back in the day, I think they would have so many great events, shopping nights, private sales, and for people who were spending like $300, $400. When I started looking at my parents' business, I started realizing, and this is about like 15, 20 years ago, especially as people became aware of, I will say people like Jessica Simpson, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jennifer Aniston, they started getting really transparent. And this is like the Us Weekly time as well, of the fact that they would go like here, and you're like, wait a second. And they started talking about extensions and really being more honest. And I think at that time, that culture in the 2000s was very much like, we wanted a piece of what celebrities has as general consumers. People were open to spending more. And I was seeing, and my parents would bring people up, they'd be spending $400, $500. And I was like, there's no pageantry here. There's ways that we can elevate this and honor that experience and just elevate the whole shopping experience. That's really, for me, I love experiential retail. And even from that, with like sales within real estate, how to
set the stage of the home. It has to smell right. You have to know where to bring them into the home to kind of sell this dream. It's more than just like transactional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you started the company what year? When was it founded?
For Covet in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So Covet in Maine was founded in 2019.
Okay.
But I had been working on it since 2017. I started very small. I wanted to work collaboratively. I kind of got like a little pilot group of stylists, and we were iterating like, is this the right color? Is this the right enough grams on the wet? I really wanted to also test it to make sure I don't, when something comes to market, you're talking about longevity. So you can't just come to market and say, this is going to last for 9 months, and you haven't given it 9 months, 12 months to really get that feedback. So I had to really be patient. But it allowed me the confidence. So when we did come to market, we could come fast, because I really knew that this product had been tested different climates, Arizona, New York, internationally as well. So we were very confident, and we were obsessed and like really in love with the product when we came to market.
So, and I know it took off quickly, because if you just officially started the company in 2019, I mean, that took off because I'm aware of your revenues. So tell me though about the past year then, what, you're in a physical product business, you're in an industry that got shut down nearly nationwide. I think everywhere but one state probably.
Yeah.
What's the one state that never shut down? Was it like Alabama or something? There was one state that like never shut down.
It was somewhere in the middle, but not in the South.
Yeah. But salons were down everywhere, right?
And overnight, like, and in a way that you just didn't see coming. And for the longevity that you didn't see coming. And so I had been at the Trust in March, and I had been talking about, it's been the year of COVID. So for me, I started realizing it was different in February, because when you do physical products, when you import, there's Lunar New Year. And so factories shut down for months, their workers go home. And this is something that you're dealing with. I'm even dealing with it now. You start preparing for the fact that you're not going to be able to get goods for a while. And so in February, our factories we're like, we have so many orders to give you when you open back up, and they weren't opening back up, and they were delayed. And then so that you were realizing that something was going on in China, and we weren't able to get the goods out. And just as we were able to start getting the goods out, it came here. And so we have all this inventory coming, and all these invoices to pay, and our supply, our demand is now zero. And so, and you have this team, you have all these grand plans and vision. So that was the first part of 2020. And so by the time we kind of got that stabilized, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when it's stabilized. But this is, I think, what they say, I think for the last 10, 15 years, it was pretty glamorous to be saying that you're an entrepreneur, and you kind of got to deal with all the upside and the fun side of it. And this is really the part that shakes it out. Like, why are you doing this? Do you really want to be, an entrepreneur? And that you realize what that means. It means there is no safety net. So the buck stops with you. The bills
and this is where most people stop.
Yeah.
This is where they say, I don't see a way out, or this isn't worth it, or maybe this isn't the right time. How did you approach it?
Well, I want to say one thing this summer has really brought to me. I approached it by focusing on the mental health. And I really want to think I had a really great therapist at the time. And I've had a couple of friends and family members really struggle with mental health. And it's also a stigma a lot within the Black community. I just want to be very transparent that I'm so thankful that I had a therapist who really just helped ground me and help me deal with tools to be able to suss out what was necessary,
what was something that was a fear and anxiety that I was creating that wasn't real, and what could I do now? And was I, and those core levels of like, am I safe? Am I like well fed? Am I loved? And really just focus on that. So that was very helpful because it just really helped me to be still and to be focused on like meditation and going on walks and just really not overreacting. And that's what we did. We were still, we didn't launch all the new things that we had to do, but I also didn't I was tempted to pull out that like recession playbook where you get rid of everything and you get rid of your team and and I was like, I don't think that this is that. So let me just be still and be human to my team, just reassure them. I took a pay cut. I kept my whole team and I was like, we're going to focus on all, my mom used to have me do this. She's like, whenever you get really overwhelmed, make a running list of all the little random things that you wish you could get done, but you're so busy. She's like, so that when things slow down, you can revisit that list. And we had a lot of things that we just wanted to elevate. We elevated our packaging. We elevated just our customer onboarding and some of our email copy. And, and that doesn't cost you anything. That's just something you do anyway. And we got to work on the work that we had been not able to do because everything had been so hectic.
Yeah. I want to just jump in there because I think for everyone watching too, that you probably would see this, that online you see a lot of, and during the last year too, a lot of like, just stay in action and pivot and take it. There was this almost feeling like if you wanted to take a breath or you wanted to go like, I just want to hide for a week and figure out what's going on like in the world. And then your kids are home. I mean, we were really, as business women, especially, we really underestimate the weight on us this year on everything. Suddenly the husbands that we love and adore though are home all day, right? Like, like the kids we love and adore are home all day. Now we're figuring out schooling. Like it's just, and there is so little value placed on a moment of contraction. Like on a moment of a pause, on a moment of saying, okay, let's think through this. Let's look at what are the possibilities. What can I control right now? And what can I control? I love your mom's exercise. And I love the making the list too, because, there are those days you're like, well, none of this stuff's going to get done. Oh, I could create content. I could do something special over here. I could get my team together and we have that meeting we've always wanted to have.
Yeah.
And once you release that, so it's been a year of a bit of surrender.
And
then, was there a moment that you felt like things got back on track?
Around one thing that we did that I loved, we did these virtual trainings for our collective, our group of stylists, and we had the stylists just would share virtually. They did one on like coloring. Some did my go-to formulas for really vibrant reds. Someone else did, how to razor cut, and we would do them each week. And everybody would kind of gather, and it was lovely. And then, people started opening back up, and guess who the first person people called when things opened back up? Their stylist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one person. I mean, we slowly would have people start dropping off because it was state by state, and you would just see less and less people. And then eventually they're like, okay, you guys are clearly back to work. And when they came back to work, we had really tightened up a lot of things. And it was some of we blasted through our projections for June and July. I mean, in an insane way. By the way, I also think that we also just focused on that we knew when to not sell. And we really just focused on really connecting with our clientele is not, I hate the word human, but just as like a real person, like just in a real connective way. We utilize technology not to kind of hide from our clientele, but really have these authentic as much as we could. And now we're dealing with different challenges now, in terms of
just challenges of growth. Where do we want to take this? And I think for me as well, there's some intentionality that I really want to have is like if we're really, going to be Chanel, there is an exclusivity and there's standards and there's, constraints on your supply chain that you don't want to make just to make a buck. So we, even this month of August, I just had to say like, you know what? We're having a lot of problems getting the trade war stuff, TikTok, all that stuff is affecting people who import. And so I just said, until we can get that and really deliver that brand promise for everyone, we're not taking new accounts. And we're going to just focus on our existing accounts and feed them and connect with them.
Oh, I like that. Your invitation only.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I think people say that, but they don't, and it's like, we really want to, one, for the people who we have, we want consumers to know like they've really been vetted. These are really like the best of the best stylists. And then once we know we have the best of the best, like let's give them what they need, and not trying to worry about getting more and more and more. And I think that there is that, you said surrender, but I've had to introduce the word enough into my life as a mother, wife, and now as a business of like, I think there's always just been such a focus on growth, and not excellence. And that kind of circles back to something like I really learned from like working with Beyonce and observing her is her commitment to excellence. Beyonce isn't here, there, everywhere. When she comes out, she makes an impact and she's maniacally obsessed with excellence and being aware of what the sacrifice is, how many times to say no to stuff in order.
What's interesting? And I respect so much about her. She'll disappear for a while.
Yes.
Like, she's not every day on Instagram showing her breakfast. No. Like she's doing the work. Right. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that. And those are the artists I really respect. And I remember reading something about Adele too. When Adele took like 2 years to work, you have the whole industry pushing you, like, we need the next album. We need the next album. You're the hottest thing. This is going to sell so much. We're going to make gazillions of dollars. And she's like, it's not ready yet.
Yeah.
And also she doesn't do social, and at least she didn't then. I don't know. And she took the liberty of, and that commitment to the excellence of saying, I'm going to go work on this until it's absolutely beautiful and excellent, and then come out with that. And I think that's underrated too. Now, many of us have to still pay the bills during this becoming excellent time.
Yeah.
So, it's always a balance, right? It's figuring and everyone's had a different journey.
Yeah.
So I'd love you to talk about now, obviously it's great you mentioned your prior career, because the networks, I didn't realize how important they actually were to you. The networks that you built, back in New York, in LA.
Yeah.
Talk about the people that you've decided to surround yourself with and how that's changed, if any, when you became successful.
It's so crazy how it's like one of those quotes that I don't care what generation you're from. It's like, tell me who you walk with. I'll tell you who you are. You are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. It is so key. And I'm so, for me, it's about the networks that I've built. I'm someone who can walk into a room from someone that I've, worked with in a business or friendship wise 15 years ago. And there's integrity there. I really value relationships. I nourish them. But you also have to know sometimes too, when the balance is lost. So I wanted to start being in rooms where I could kind of get a little bit more, absorb more from people who are further along than me. And so really, I think I'm so thankful for the trust has been, especially this year, leading into the year, kind of starting in March with women who were like, it's okay to aim your sights a little bit bigger. And not only is it okay, here's kind of some things that I did that might work. Here's some things that you got to let go of that aren't going to work if you're trying to get from here to there. And then also just a place to feel safe to be like, this is scary. Because I'm going to be really honest with you. It's, if you won't see like on my personal social, me having all these inspirational quotes, and I'm not very much of like I have the receipts and I'm a boss, but I'm not that. But I have receipts. But I also have a lot of fear that I work through, and I do a lot of the work on grounding, and I'm so thankful for women who are even further along. They're like, yeah, you're still going to have that. You're just going to get better at conquering it. It's not going to go away. You're just going to get sharper. So I think I cannot emphasize enough how transformative that is for a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you. And before I want to ask my final question, I want to just give everyone the URL if you're interested. So we are seeking some more amazing 7 and 8 figure revenue women leaders. If they are in that range, and join the trust.org, come learn about what we're doing. We are having some incredible events coming up, both live and virtual. I'm blown away that like many of the members are like, oh, we're coming. I'm like, all right, they're like, whatever it takes. And we desperately need margaritas. We deserve it this year. Oh my gosh.
I think for what's gone on this summer as well. And I just really want to say is like, especially for me as a Black woman running a business, it is the natural diversity that's built into the trust I haven't seen it in other organizations that I've been in. And it's so, I've also been a part of things as well where it feels a little contrived, or it's performative. It's not necessarily like, and I think for whatever reason, I think why we're all so excited to get there is that there's no one like dominant way of showing up. It's not like it's all product-based businesses, or it's all like super glamorous, beauty-based businesses, or that it's all one like, Southwest white women kind of dominating and you fit to that norm. It's just all these voices from Iceland, from Australia, from Houston. I think we all just bring such a really great light to the room that will kind of do whatever if I have to take a train to show up.
I hope so. I'll send one for you. And by the way, Arizona was just taken off the travel advisory list from New York. So we're grateful for that, because we do have a few members in the New York area. They're booking their flights. And then those who are not comfortable, of course, we're going to do a fantastic virtual option of bringing in a professional crew for the September event. Our guest advisor is Christina Stemble, who founded Farm Girl Flowers. Man, she's had a wild year too. We're going to hear the behind the scenes stories on moving, warehouses of product and shifting things around. Our guest at the last meeting was Ellen Latham, who co-founded Orange Theory, billion-dollar business. No one's been unaffected this year. And
she was amazing, and I was so glad. I think back to her story so much because she too, a lot of women started businesses around the recession or started from just this really underdog position. And I love that. Like that scrappiness never goes away, that fighting spirit. She was just how rare to be in a room with someone who's just so open. She was just really amazing. She really was just amazing.
Yeah. And she's the kind, sometimes, those of you who hire speakers for events, if you're, sometimes you don't know what they'll be like in real life, right? And they'll be there and she's like, oh, I'm going to have lunch with you guys. And here's my email. We're like, oh my gosh, just thank you for being, everything we thought you were and more, and these are the kind of advisors. Yeah. These are the kind of advisors that we're looking to bring in who run these 9-figure, even billion-dollar companies, but want to spend the time with us. And so join the trust.org. I have to ask, because it's just something we're all dealing with. How is it going during the pandemic? You've moved house.
Yes.
You are now, you got the twin boys at home. How old are they now?
They are 6.5.
You had to think about it.
I know.
And then your husband, Ryan, who is broadcasting, is he still broadcasting ESPN from home?
He goes, so now he does Sports Center and he'll go in to do Sports Center. So if you're anchoring Sports Center, he'll go in. But for pieces at home, like the NBA, last night with them walking out of the game, he was up at 2:00 in the closet tracking that story. We're a broadcast studio, we're a school, I
remember, I just have to say, Dafina was on one of the Zoom calls for the trust, and you see where everyone's at, and like it's kind of funny sometimes. And we see like behind you all this like sports memorabilia. I'm like, where are you? She's like, oh, I'm sorry, this is Ryan's wall. And then she turns and there's a wall of hair for her business. And I'm like, this is how it is.
It's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde room. Like it was just, and we would have to schedule on the wall, like it was a production studio. Like, okay, I have a call at this time and you have a segment at this time. And it's been,
give us some suggestions, from where you feel like you've done pretty well holding it together. I mean, if you're here talking to me today, you've held it together.
I would say the one place is just, I've decided to be the star of my own movie again and really enjoy life and try to romanticize the parts of life that I can. So, if it's drinking a great bottle and making a great cocktail, getting the actual time and muddling the leaves, just finding some, I've been on my bike, just trying to inject a little bit of romanticism back into our lives, because I used to get that from travel and being around other people. And it's hard. We haven't been able to do that as much. And I just feel like then I get to show up to my children and my husband as refreshed. I can't look to them to be everything. I also have found with my husband, just really having some conversations of like, who are we professionally? What do we need? Because my husband and I work very differently. And we really had to, kind of negotiate that and knowing when to turn off our work and really intentionally set time for our family, I think has been helpful. And also just letting go of a lot of stuff. I've just let go of a lot of these old norms of like, before of just my kids were in every activity and we have all the vacations, but it's just, we're kind of going back. I call it 1970s parenting, where it's like, my kids have seatbelts on. I'm just saying. Do
you remember that? Like we drove from Connecticut to Florida. Flowing over, like the only thing missing was someone smoking in the front, like the 70s mom, and then, hitting you in the back.
But I would say, like, we used to make ashtrays from our hand. Did you ever do that growing up? Like we would make our parents' ashtrays in school as gifts. That's what we were doing in the 80s.
Oh my God, I think you're right. But you're right. This morning, we have the kids home now too. We actually pulled ours out of school. We decided that we didn't like the way things were going with our particular school. Some schools are doing this well. Ours were like, this doesn't work. And, the kids all pile in bed with us in the morning now. We have time to cuddle. We have time to talk about the day. We have time. So there's, it's recognizing those moments though, in the middle of all this that I think is important, that you're like, oh, okay. But it's, we're being realistic too, that there's a lot we're handling right now. So Dafina, thank you for being so transparent today. It's such an honor to have you in the trust. And I'm just so happy to promote, where should people go to learn about Covet in Maine and all your hair products and stylists?
So we love to play on Instagram. So we have our handle is at covetinmaine.com. We have covetandmaine.com, and then we have our Instagram handle is covetinmaine. And then if you are curious about anything about me, which is I'm not the most like founder-led website, but I do have a couple of things on dafinasmith.com. My Instagram is completely unremarkable. It's just pictures of me in dresses that I like on vacation and occasionally my kids. It probably hasn't been updated in months, but mostly Covet in Maine on Instagram is a great place to play.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dafina. And for those of you ladies, or if you know someone who could be interested in joining us, we're putting together another extraordinary event, extraordinary group of women. Join the trust.org.
We would want to see more.
We'd love to.
More women.
Bye.
Thank you so much for having me, Allie.